Pasha Paro, thank you for tuning. I appreciate your time. Sometimes, sometimes, sometimes you gotta tell God that you ain't done. Sometimes you gotta tell God that you ain't done. Because you may not realize that because all right, we got audio. That is a test. The trial is a test. And the question is, will you succumb? Will you succumb to it? Or not? And only you get to decide that. Well, of course, the Most High has the final to say. But I mean, as far as you're concerned, you get to decide that. In the illusion of your experience of free will. So sometimes you're going to have to tell the Most High that you're not done. You are not done. And this, for those that are on my Facebook page and everything, is where we get into right versus true, as I posted a little bit earlier today. All right? Because you're going to have to be careful in the walk, in your walk, right? Because the thing is, they tell you that, let me start here. Let me start here. The post I made earlier was about being right. And I was simplifying the fact that the problem, that the solution is simple, is stop worrying about being right. Because people don't understand what I'm really saying when I say, and when we say, we are focused on truth. And it causes a lot of issues, because people that don't know no better, they're making the wrong arguments, right? Look, I'm all like still adjusting shit. They're making the wrong arguments for the wrong reasons. And when I studied society, what I found was the reason that they're doing it is because they're addicted to being right. And they don't necessarily grasp the difference between being right and being true. So for the men tonight, because I know my critical thinkers are still up and bouncing around at 11:42 Eastern Standard Time. So the critical thinkers, break this down with those around you and your teams and help develop the community. The argument, the debate is with those who are addicted to being right and don't understand what true is. Let's get into it. So what I mentioned earlier that really makes sense to me, let me know what you think, is the question is, are they right in some of these discussion points you're having at a given moment? The answer may absolutely be yes. They may 100% be right. Right? Let's say you're talking to someone, they make a statement, boom. That statement, they standing on it, da-da-da, whatever, right? That statement very well may be right. The question is it true? And how do you determine is it true? Well, it's right now, or it's right in the example given. However, the question to define if it's true or not is it right all of the time? So, is it right now? Yes. Check. Is that always the case? If the answer is sometimes, like if you say, is it true? And you say, well, sometimes, it's like saying, is it always the case? And you'd be like, well, no, not always. So if it's not always the case, what that means is at that moment, what they're arguing, they're right about, but they're not true. Because true, we've proved that there's instances where what's right now won't be right in the same equation. And that's why you hear me say I'm a man of equations, not variables. And that creates a PR nightmare for you. You're not going to have a lot of friends and family after you adopt this truth lifestyle. A lot of things, they're trying to get rid of truth. So they ultimately wind up trying to get rid of you, which, could be why you feel poisoned, or you wake up one day and for the first time in your life, your ankles and legs are swollen. And you start to think, God, I'm not finished yet. I'm in the middle of a project that I'm trying to save the world. My dumb ass. Always trying to help people. You always trying to help people that seem to not even care. They don't even know. They always somehow find a way to get the benefit of it. Right? So here's what you gotta do in order to leverage right from truth. Because they're gonna tell you, learn from the successful individuals who didn't quit. Right? See that word, right? So many successful men and women, faced obstacles, had failures, but they kept going until they achieved their goals. And see, what happens is somebody come along that feels like they're right and says, what you need to do is you need to model yourself after them because they did it this way and they got here. But the issue with that is that you ain't them. And if I repose the statement, it says many successful men and women face obstacles and failures, but kept going until they achieved their goals. And when you really look at that, that's determined by what their starting point is and what they wanted to achieve in life, which may or may not, most likely may not be where you're starting at and or exactly what you're trying to do. So often people are telling you to model yourself after someone, to do something a certain way because others did it this way, and you don't even want the same thing. So they understood the importance of preservation and learning from their mistakes, right? But what if, and the perception for you was, you went down that road and you deviated at the obstacle or the failure? They're gonna look at you like, oh, you quit. Because they don't realize that it may appear you quit if you deviated or pivoted. However, only to those who don't see the big picture for you. Because that obstacle for you may not have been an obstacle. It may have been a sign that said, go this way. You turn left here. You get onto the toll ramp here. Right? You get onto the toll lane here. Your GPS said rerouting. But they're going to view you as a failure, a quitter, because they wanted you to conform to something that you're not. So in that moment of their discussion, was they right? Yes, many successful men and women faced obstacles and failures but kept going until they achieved their goals. Are they true? Not always. Because if we look at this picture here, it depends on what your goal was. He's arrived to the waterfront. He's arrived to his destination, as you can tell by him celebrating. Or did he? Right? Because maybe this is his destination. He got here, but look, he's alone. It's just him and the Most High. Do you see any food, nourishment, replenishment? Plenty of water, can't drink it maybe. Maybe that's the ocean. Maybe it's a sea. Who knows? Maybe it's a lake. So is that where you want to wind up? Like many people talk about, oh, they want to see the benefits of like your life. They wish they could have, they might talk about you because they see you in a Mercedes or something. Not realizing that your car payment, you have a car payment too, and your payment's only half of what theirs is, but they don't see that part. They looking down, looking frown on you, mad at you because you got a Mercedes. They got a Lexus. They got a BMW, and they're paying 2 and 3 times more than you, but they're mad at you. Because they got to the destination and there was no more nourishment afterwards. Right? Now, if you follow in their footsteps, is that where you want to be? You might have wanted to bring a team with you. There's no team there. There's no people who ride with them. Now, that's in itself is a gift, a curse, a right or true thing, because can your people around you come with you where you want to go? Are they even going to make it? Are they permitted to be there? A lot of things that really comes to mind when you stop arguing about being right and really start applying. Let's be true, y'all. Let's be true. I'm tired. I'm tired of being around people who want to be right. I'm tired. Because the dumbest stuff gets talked about. And they're arguing. And guess what? They're arguing and they're both right. But it's because they don't know what true is. We wasted 50 fucking years arguing about shit. That's all true. And I let's keep going. Hold on. Let me see which one I'm coming right next. Motivational quotes. Okay, hold on. Matter of fact, let me do it like this. Bam. Work with me here, okay? I'm doing everything by myself. That's part of my issue. All right? That's part of my issue. Is that it's hard. Everybody come with trust issues. And I gotta decide if I want. I don't like trust issues. So I wind up doing things myself. What about you? Is it better for you to do things yourself? I mean, how do you manage some of y'all be doing? I be seeing y'all be stressed the fuck out. Y'all be mad. Y'all be on the phone cussing and shit and You know what I mean? And it's because you want to delegate something so that you can feel like a boss instead of just do it yourself, right? Take you longer, but you know what's getting done. All right. So check it out right here. Motivational quotes can provide a quick boost of inspiration. We know this. That's why we put quotes on Facebook. So keeping a collection of quotes that resonate with you and refer to them when you need it as a reminder to keep going. You know, I'm going to say even, because what I used to do is, I'd still do it. You see it on the social medias all the time. I make my own quotes. I'll have a thought and I'll put it on the social media in quotations and put the date on it. And I had some hater. She asked me one day, why do you do that? I mean, why do you put your stuff in quotes and then gonna put your name on it and put the date on it? Like, and that's kind of like the tone she gave it in, like, how dare you, right? But it was actually one of those moments where she was like, how dare you? But as soon as I get off of here and find out why you do it, I'm gonna duplicate it because I like it. That's really what it was about. As soon as I get out of your sight, because I'm gonna stop talking to you on a lineable. I'm gonna go into these groups that you're not in, and I'm gonna do what you do and say that I originated it. So, and I was like, because I have great quotes. So they wanted to destroy the confidence, right? Hoping that you stop so that they could go and pretend to be you, right? Because if you stop, then who's going to be able to identify the source until 30 years later when some kind of source says, no, you got to go back and look at the records, because on the records, it wasn't this one that came out with that style, that song, that wordplay first. You got to go back to 2 years before that. This person that lived right around the corner from him was doing it first. But because this one had to deal or this one had to connect, they got put on with it. You hear that all the time. Right? So make your own quotes and post them shits and then refer back to your own thoughts. Oh, because as soon as you go pay someone $400 an hour to be called a therapist and sit there, they're going to tell you, well, have you ever thought about journaling? And then these people that forgot Pasha was doing it for 10 years going to be like, oh my God, that's an amazing, you're so awesome. I really appreciate that. That's how they do you. Because they don't know what the truth is. So you got to shift your mindset, right? You got to change your perspective. That's what we got to do. We got to change our perspectives. Forget who you thought you were. What happens when you find out who you really are? Sometimes a change of perspective makes a huge difference. Take a step back, they say, and appreciate where you are and the exciting journey ahead. This is what they're going to tell you. Zooming out and seeing the bigger picture. Like, that's what I told you earlier, right? What I said they couldn't see for you, they couldn't see the big picture. So here's the recommendation of zooming out and seeing the big picture can help you regain the motivation. It's kind of like, this saying, think outside the box. But the box could be your own head. It could be your old ways. It could be the expectations you used to have or that are still on you presently today. So what happens when you shake that off? Right? And then you got seeking help from others. Is it right for people to tell you to seek help from others? Surround yourself with quote unquote positive and supportive individuals who can encourage you and motivate you? Or do they represent the guy we saw first, standing at the watershed point alone, celebrating? The question is, are you wanting to be in that position or not? Will determine if you're actually getting support from others or if it's a trap door for you. Building strong relationships with colleagues and friends can provide the necessary support during challenging times. Under what terms and conditions? At what cost? Does it sound right? Absolutely, it sounds right. Is it true? Sometimes. That's the difference. So don't be afraid to go out and seek support from others and be reminded why you stay alone. If not, you may be trapped chasing acceptance and willingness forever. And that could lead to you diluting or destabilizing your whole efforts, whatever you're trying to put out there. Because if they gonna gaslight you and you gonna absorb it, well, now you're not who you were last week. You're not who you wanted to be. You're not in the direction you wanted to go. All because it sounded right for someone to tell you to seek support from others, like they were going to know what was best for you more than you do. When you talk to a therapist, they don't tell you nothing you don't already know about yourself. They just remind you. I do therapy all the time for people. And that's what I tell them. They go, oh my God, thank you so much. You're so amazing. All I did was remind you of something that you already knew. You may not have known that you know it, but that's what I did. I pulled it out of you. I extracted it from you because I had to have you tell yourself what it was. Because when I put it in my words, most of the time, you may not understand it. So then they tell you, set achievable goals, right? So what is an achievable goal? What's not an achievable goal? Because they're going to break down your larger goals into smaller ones, manageable tasks. Setting daily or weekly goals can help stay in focus and motivated. Celebrate your accomplishments along the way to maintain momentum. So now if you're talking to someone who's born or put themselves in a position where their strides are only supposed to be 2 feet each, they'll never understand what you're doing if your strides are supposed to be 10 feet each. Then you're going to let them talk to you about, no. You need to break that into 2-foot steps. Your chemistry, your makeup is built to do 10-foot strides. And you're wondering why you're stumbling and falling and tripping and failing, listening to what they're telling you, because they're trying to break it down into 2 foot. and you tripping over your own feet trying to do it because you're meant to do 10-foot strides. And at the same time, they won't understand. They'll think that your one stride is the total goal because to them, that's 5 whole steps. So they're going to be like, no, that's, but your goal is really 10 strides. So your goal is 10 of your own strides, which is 100 of their strides. So they can't even fathom what you're doing. They remember zoom out. They gotta go up into space to see your football field, to see the track ring that you running the race on. But the moment you shrink down to their observational point and become them on their level, that's why this guy is so small in the picture. Now that puddle, right? What would have been a puddle for you just to step over now becomes, how do I get across this body of water? How do I get across this Lake Michigan? Because you allowed yourself to get small into their perspective, and now you see what would have been a step as a voyage. So just because the goal seems impossible to them, don't mean you can't achieve it or aren't meant to achieve it. Maybe they didn't have the right chemistry or life experience. Maybe you were Gilgamesh. And maybe you didn't know it, but they did. And they talked you out of becoming who you were supposed to become. Under the gaslighting guise of setting achievable goals. So how do you stay inspired? What is staying inspired? What is it? Hit me up for any graphic design, psychology infused logos, green belt, project management, process optimization. You see it on the screen. But that's not the picture I wanted to show you. But shameless plug. Let's use this one. Like a tarot card. We'll read this one. So staying inspired. What I did is I took the word apart, which you may not feel like it's proper or not, but watch this. So we got in and we got spire, right? Now, spire as a noun was a structure on top of a building, typically a church tower. So we just take that one. Stay in structure on the top of the building. Excuse me. And if we're talking about a building that you're going to be on top of, normally something that's on top of a building makes the building the foundation. So stay in structure. For all the Beyonce fans, I guess that's information. So stay in structure on top of your foundation, typically a church tower. But it don't have to be church-like religion. Just stay in structure on top of your foundation. It says a building, which is critical that you pay attention to that, because that ties into that age-old saying is if you don't have your own goals, you will work to fulfill another's. So if you're not staying in structure on top of your foundation, you naturally want to be in structure and will wind up on the foundation, on the building top of another, doing the spire work. Now, another meaning for it is the continuation of a tree trunk above the point where branching begins. Oh, it's amazing. See, is it right to be inspired then? Yes. But as we pointed out, you could be inspired on the wrong foundation. So is it true that you should stay inspired? Engage with motivational content such as articles, podcasts, speeches, movies, this chick, that chick, him, her, the old fellas, the whatever in your field, the peer review people, learning from others' experiences, as we talked about in the beginning, and success stories to reignite your motivation and drive. If you're inspired on top of the wrong building, is it right to stay inspired? Now let's go to the next definition of it. The continuation of a tree trunk above the point where branching begins, especially in a tree of tapering form. So the tree comes up and then it begins to branch out, right? So that's like networking. So if you're networking and now you're growing beyond the point where you started networking, but you're branching out to the wrong connections, here's the question. Is it right to stay inspired? They're telling you yes. It sounded like yes at the time, but I'm showing you that it's not always true. Remember your why. Right? Remember your why. Remember your why. What got you started in the first place? Reconnect with that purpose, that passion. Stay committed and motivated, even when you face those challenges. Oh, that's where they got that from. But is that right? Yes. Right? Or are you confused? Because sometimes they be right. Like, fellas, you know, sometimes back in the day, homie got the chick and homie stopped hanging with the fellas. And the fellas was like, oh man, you always booed up now. We don't even get to see you. We don't hang out no more. She distracting you, man. Right? So maybe she was distracted. But sometimes it's because maybe over time the whole group of fellas got out of pocket or got distracted, and she helped him remember his why. Sometimes. 2 out of 84. Nah, seriously though. So sometimes it be like that. So is it right to say remember your why? Yeah, sound like it. Is it true? Depends on your perspective. Because the fella's gonna say from their perspective, it's fucked up, man. So you gotta take care of yourself. Which is what, of all that list, the Most High finds weird ways to remind me of. You know what I'm saying? So I've been working for the community, for the people, for you, hard. I hardly ever get to lead this chair, and I was reminded by that when my feet, ankles, and legs swell up, and when it happens, it never happened to me before in life, but when it happens, it's one of those moments where you got to tell God, I'm not done yet. The community may not understand the work that you're doing for them today. But you got to tell God that you're not done yet. Because in what we went over, whether it was right or whether it was true, there were obstacles and there were challenges. There were pivots, there were deviation points. And each one of them is an opportunity for you to quit. And it may look like you quit even when you didn't. As we went over in the last video, looks can be deceiving. So prioritize self-care and maintain a healthy work-life balance. You can get it all right. You can get rid of all the trauma, toxic people bringing stuff into your life, and you can be at the beach like the very first picture by yourself, looking at salvation, alone. Because everybody you started on that journey with to bring with you, to bring here to this. Let me put the picture up for you. That's why I got them, right? Everybody, how many people have ever felt like this? The people you started whatever you were doing, you're doing. The people that you started doing it for in mind, right? To take them, to change their life, to change their situation, to make it better for them, to whatever. At some point in the journey to get there, they're not even with you anymore. And it's a crazy, awkward feeling because how you were learning from the successful individuals that told you that was your motivation. Do it for your family. But your family try to throw you in the mental hospital, get you killed. You know what I'm saying? All the motivational quotes talk to you about this and that. Now it doesn't apply no more. you shifted your mindset to get started, only to realize that, damn, that shift wasn't necessary. I'm right back to where I was in the beginning. I see it differently now. Like, my perspective is different. But I was ahead of my time and I just didn't know it. So I had to go through this whole extra journey loop to find out the value of where I was already at. That's why you're alone. But then they told you need friends, or you need this, or you need that. And you went down that journey to come back to yourself, because now you remember why. You remember your why. You remember why now you don't seek support from others. Because they're distracted. They want to be right, which means they're very seldomly true, which creates trust issues for you. So you can't set achievable goals with a bunch of trust issues. So how do you stay inspired? Well, that's why they call it a tower. It's not very wide. The circle isn't that big at the bottom of the tower, and it gets narrower as it gets to the point. And the point we're trying to make is, remember your why. And the why was because you wanted to take care of yourself, your body. And what you did was you made your body bigger than yourself, because you started including all these people that you felt like you cared about, thought you could trust, thought was going to be there for you, thought was going to help you. And they never shot with you in the gym. So then they get angry at you, because why? Let's go through it again. Because you learn from successful individuals who didn't quit. You learned that maybe they should have quit it, because you see where it got them. You find motivation in quotes. They mad at you because you shifted your mindset. They mad at you because you seek support from others, but the others ain't them no more. Because when you came to them, they kept doing you wrong. They mad that everything that you told them we could do together, that they told you would never happen, you achieve it by yourself. Not with no government grant, not with no 50 people on the team. You doing it by yourself. They mad because you are inspired. They hate that you remember your why, because they forgot theirs. And they mad that even if you die tomorrow, what you put in place took care of yourself, because you weren't selfish. The yourself that you're trying to take care of is the omnipresence of the world. Because it don't matter how you raise up the kids, if you don't change the world you're leaving them in, they are sure to be consumed by it. So sometimes in the middle of it all, when the obstacles is the deepest and the challenges are the greatest, and the whole world is turned against you, and your feet, your ankles, and your legs swell up while you still can't talk right because the Bell's palsy scar, when your face stopped working, it's always something. But you still gotta stand up and tell God, I ain't done yet. Pasha Paro. You might not have nothing you started with, but you're not done yet. You're not done yet.